Alright, g'day. If you want to get a 7 in IB Psychology Paper 1 short answer responses, stick around because in this video I'm going to show you 7 simple steps to writing a fantastic short answer response that's going to get you top marks. Alright, now there's lots of different ways to go about writing a short answer response, but I think it's best to boil it down into the basics, and instead of worrying about command terms and rubrics and all these other extraneous things, let's just think about the requirements. Right? What we're looking for in paper 1 short answer responses is that students can explain a topic, they show they understand something about psychology, and then they can show where they got that understanding from, which is the study. So all short answer responses have a central argument and a supporting study. So how to begin? Here are the 7 steps. Step 1, restate the question. A 1-sentence restating of the question that shows how you're going to answer that particular question in the short answer response. Okay, and I recommend doing this for short answer responses because it's good practice for your essays as well. You can get 1 mark in the essay just by restating the question. For example, explain how genes influence human behavior. Genes may influence human behavior because they could be linked with aggression. Simple. Okay, second, state the study you're going to use to support your argument. All right, so the first, restate the question. Step 2, state the study you're going to use to support that. Okay, let's say the question is describe social cognitive theory. Social cognitive theory is a theory devised by Albert Bandura, which attempts to explain how people can learn to behave certain ways. This can be seen in Bandura's Bobo doll study. All right, full stop. Okay, state the study you're going to use to support the key thing you're going to explain, your central argument. Step 3. Now, so the first two, step 1 and 2, that's your introduction. Third step, that's your central argument. Now you're getting to the body of your response. I would begin to find the key term in the question. If it's about hormones and testosterone, what are those things? Define them. If it's about the working memory model, what is working memory? What is the working memory model? A definition, the first 1-2-sentence definition provides a nice general overview of your answer and what the topic you're going to explain. If you're writing about true experiments to study the brain, what is a true experiment? Okay, a technological technique, what is an fMRI if that's what you're going to write about? And then that's a nice lead into the rest of your explanation. So define the key term. That a really good definition as well shows your knowledge. Okay, then the rest of it, you do need a 3 to 5 sentence explanation of the answer. Okay, so step 4 is that you have to answer the question. Okay, describe how a research method is used to study the brain. Explain how and why that research method is used to study the brain. Describe social cognitive theory. Describe social cognitive theory, right? Define it and then answer the rest of the question. So this is what I call a central argument. You're showing you the question, a short answer question is going to ask you something about psychology, one of the topics in the core, the biocognitive or social cultural approach. So step 4, okay, so you've got restate the question, state the study, that's your introduction, then define the key term or a couple of key terms that you're going to write about, and then the rest of your central argument. Now, step 5, describe the supporting study. What's the study you're going to use that's going to support your central argument, right? And so that's where you talk about your aims, methods, and results. Okay, let's say the question's about cultural dimensions and explaining one cultural dimension. Okay, the effect of one cultural dimension on behavior can be shown in Levine et al.'s cross-cultural study on helping strangers. Aim of the study was, they used these methods, the results were, full stop. That's step 5. Step 6, you have to explain the study, and this is what most students forget to do. Really important. So you can't just end with the results. If you put a full stop after the results were, boom, and you have no explanation, then you've done what 3/4 of IB psychology students do, and they miss out on really important marks by doing this. So you have to explain the conclusion of the study, which essentially means linking it back to the question. Another way of saying it is, what does that study show about that particular topic? All right, what do those results imply about the topic that in question? So if you're talking about Levine's cross-cultural study and cultural dimensions, well, what is that study showing about cultural dimensions? If it's a study on genetics or a twin study, what's the conclusion about that? The conclusion of that study based on the question at hand. Now, the 7th step I would say is optional. Right, the 7th step is just a conclusion. Here we can see that genes influence behavior. Boom, full stop. Like, that's all. I mean, and you don't have to do it if you feel like it's redundant, but sometimes it's just nice to end the essay that way. Now, see, take a pen and paper and test yourself. Can you write down those 7 steps I just gave you? Now, I would like this tested, I would like this challenged if you don't agree with me, but I've written hundreds of example short answer responses that follow those 7 steps, and it's all you need. You can even use those as a checklist as you're planning to write, you're writing your first short answer responses, you're just getting into the psychology course, then you can use that checklist, use those 7 things as a checklist to make sure you have good structure. There are some answers I'm sure that could be written without following that structure and could be just as effective, but I like to keep it simple, and you can write any short answer response using that structure and get top marks. And if you don't believe me, or if you want to challenge it, absolutely please go ahead, leave a comment and write the question that you think can't be answered using that structure, and I'll happily try to answer it. All right, so 7 steps, what are they? Restate the question, state the study you're going to use. That's your introduction. Central argument begins with a definition of the key term and then the explanation of the topic. Then describe the supporting study and explain how that study is used to, we're up to now 6 step, explain how that study is used to, what that study shows about the topic, and then optional conclusion, mic drop. You've got a perfect short answer response if you can do all those things properly. Thanks for watching. Right, I hope that video was helpful and it will get you ready for your IB Psychology exams. If it was helpful, don't forget to like the video and hit subscribe. Leave a comment if you like, or even leave a question. I might get a chance to answer it. Also, if you haven't already, check out our IB Psychology, a revision guide. This takes all the information in our big textbook and condenses it down for just the bare essentials for your exam preparation. And it's structured in a pretty unique way with everything you need on the short answer responses on one side of a page, and on the reverse side of the page added for the essays. It's got exam tips, it's got critical thinking considerations, and it's got everything you need for paper 3 as well. So if you're getting ready for your IB Psychology exams, get your copy of our revision guide. Thanks for tuning in and see you next time.